Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on emigrating with Daniela. If you are thinking about applying for the EB-3 visa to work in the United States, this video is for you. I know that the process can be a little very complicated, and unfortunately there are mistakes that many make that can delay or even ruin the application. But don't worry, because today I'm going to tell you what those most common mistakes are and how you can avoid them to ensure your process is a success. Also, remember that the EB-3 visa was the option I chose, because it was the best option for my personal and family project, and I can help you with the most difficult part, which is finding a sponsor. That is, a sponsor to bring you to the United States through an agency that handles this, and to minimize the main mistakes. When processing this visa, which are the ones I'm going to tell you about in this video, you just have to send me a private message on my Instagram at Emigrate with Daniela, or click on the link I leave in the description or in the comments to schedule a free consultation with the agency and start your visa process. Now, let's go over the mistakes. 1. Not thoroughly reviewing the requirements. One of the most common mistakes I see is that people do not thoroughly review the requirements for the EB-3 visa. It is crucial that you understand exactly what you need. Before starting your application, the EB-3 visa has categories for professionals, skilled workers, and unskilled workers. The latter is the one I applied for, and each one has specific requirements. Before starting the process, make sure to carefully read each of the requirements. Ask yourself, do I have the experience? Do I have the degrees? Do I have the appropriate job offer? And if you have doubts, it's better to clarify them from the beginning. If you need help, I always recommend hiring an expert on the subject. For example, the agency I hired provided me with all the advice I needed and also resolved any doubts I had regarding completing all the forms required to start or to advance in each stage of the process. 2. Not having a valid job offer. Another big mistake that many people make is starting the process without a valid job offer in the United States. For the EB-3 visa, you need a formal offer from a company willing to sponsor you. Advice: verify that your employer in the United States is fully registered and that your job offer is legitimate. Do not start the process without this offer, as it is one of the fundamental requirements for your application to be approved. You already know that if you need help finding a sponsor, I can help you with that. I tried to find a sponsor on my own, but honestly, it was almost impossible for me. I spent almost a year on that search, and when I found this agency, it cleared everything up for me. The whole outlook. So that's why I mention it to you so much. That's why I recommend it so much, because is a great help for me. Finding a sponsor on our own is extremely difficult, unless you have a relative or a friend who already has a company there and wants to sponsor you directly. But finding it on our own by sending resumes and so on is very difficult, but if you find it, don't let it go. 3. Incomplete or incorrect documentation. 1. Of the mistakes that causes the most delays in the process is sending incomplete or incorrect documentation. This can be devastating for your process. If you don't have all the documents in order, your application can be rejected or delayed for months. Advice: make a list of all the documents you need, from work certificates to your passport and the labor petition form. And take the time to review them and make sure everything is in order before sending, being overly meticulous. If you hire a specialized agency, as I recommend to you, they will help you avoid all these mistakes and ensure that everything is correctly presented. By the way, I want to tell you that the agency I hired has reopened their in-person office in Bogota. So for those in Colombia, you will be able to have this closer support. Although I did everything remotely because when I started, I was in Spain. 4th, not following the correct timelines of the process. PARM. The EB-3 visa requires a labor certification process known as PERM. A common mistake is not following the correct timelines or deadlines during this stage. The PERM is a certification that demonstrates there are no available American workers for the position you will fill. And this is a mandatory step for the EB-3 visa. Advice: work very closely with your employer if you have secured it personally to ensure that the timelines and deadlines of the perm process are respected. It is essential for progressing with your application. Fifth, not having a solid financial plan. A detail that sometimes goes unnoticed is not having an organized and solid financial plan. Throughout the process, you will have to cover costs for procedures, government fees, medical exams, and other expenses. Many applicants do not adequately prepare for these costs, which can lead to complications. Advice: before starting, make sure you have a financial plan that covers all the costs of the application process. And the first few months of stay in the United States, remember that migrating involves investment. No responsible migration process will be free. And the last mistake is spending 1, 2, 3 years looking for a sponsor and trying to do the process on your own. By being stubborn and not wanting to pay professionals to do it for us, we risk making mistakes, losing money, and a lot of time. Believe me, cheap ends up being expensive. And the best investment we can make today for ourselves and our post family is in a migration process. And if you already have a sponsor who wants to sponsor you and you don't need an agency, be very careful with the lawyer that you are going to hire, because there are many cases of fraud currently. Check reviews from previous clients, check their success stories. Also very important, focus on ensuring that it is a lawyer specialized in this type of visa. And those are some of the most common mistakes people make when applying for the EB-3 visa. You don't have to fall into them. Make sure to review all the requirements, have a valid job offer, organize your documentation very well, follow the perm process timelines, and have your finances in order, ensuring that you don't make mistakes in your process. And I, to avoid any inconvenience in my process, hired an agency because they accompanied me at every step, ensuring that I didn't make any mistakes in my process. Remember that. They can help you with the most difficult part, which is finding a sponsor who wants to sponsor you. If you're interested in knowing more, in having a consultation with them, send me a private message on my Instagram. Or click on the link in the description or in the comments to schedule your free consultation with them. Follow me on my social media, where I share my daily life living abroad, updates on my migration processes, gossip, and much more. At Migrate with Daniela on Instagram, on TikTok. Subscribe, it costs you nothing, it's free, and it would help me a lot. Also, like this video if it has helped you in any way, to motivate me to make more videos like this. If you follow these tips, you will be much closer to fulfilling your dream of working in the United States, of working and living in the United States. Remember that it's not impossible if you set your mind to it and start working, but I from now on, see you in the next episode. And good luck with your application if you decide to start. Goodbye.